did this session one time before, and we had slightly less interaction than we wanted to, so now we've added the voting part. And we have prepared actually 6 topics, and we're going to use these votes to adjust as we go, spend more time on the topics that had a lot of votes. Just looking at it, there is, what is it and what are the pitfalls? Okay, I'll just start by telling what it is. FedEx-days is actually a way to make sure you can deliver innovation overnight in your company. So I don't know who of you knows the company FedEx. Please, hands. Yeah, they deliver packages overnight. And that is where the name comes from. You can deliver your software innovation overnight. So you start on one, let's say around lunch on a Thursday. That is when you start. And the next day, Friday, during lunch, you show the results to the company. So that is where the name comes from. And I want to show you a short video of 1 minute what it is.
How many of you know the movie by Dan Pink about Drive? So this drawled video about what motivates people. Well, in there he points at FedEx-days, and that's also where they come from us to work with. So let's show only that part.
Yep.
Let me give you some examples of this, of almost radical forms of self-direction in the workplace that lead to good results. Let's start with this company right here, Atlassian, an Australian company. It's a software company, and they do something really cool. Once a quarter, on a Thursday afternoon, they say to their developers, for the next 24 hours, you can work on anything you want. You can work on it the way you want. You can work on it with whomever you want. All we ask is that you show the results to the company at the end of those 24 hours in this fun kind of meeting, not a star chamber session, but this fun meeting with beer and cake and fun and other things like that. It turns out that one day of pure, undiluted autonomy has led to a whole array of fixes for existing software, a whole array of ideas for new products that otherwise had never emerged. One day. Now, this is not an if-then incentive. This is not the sort of thing that I would have done 3 years ago before I knew this research. I would have said, you want people to be creative and innovative? Give them a frickin' innovation bonus. If you can do something cool, I'll give you $2,500. They're not doing this at all. They're essentially saying, you probably want to do something interesting. Let me just get out of your way. One day of autonomy produces things that had never emerged.
How many of you have done a FedEx-day or have been involved in a FedEx-day? One. Some companies call it a Google Day. Or I find it a very valuable tool when we're in agile deployments. There's always one manager who tells me, or one person, how can we produce working software in 4 weeks? You're talking about Scrum, you're talking about sprints. It's impossible that we produce working software in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And that's the point in time. So, well, let's organize a FedEx-day in your organization, and you will see that we can produce even working software in 24 hours. So imagine if we can do it in 24 hours, imagine what we can do in 2 weeks. So turning the situation from this is not possible around in their minds to anything is possible within a given time box. And that's, I think, FedEx-days are really useful for.
So that's a tip on how to sell it even to your CEO. If you have a FedEx-day, you have a number of events that you can plan around it. And first of all, there is the FedEx-day itself. In the example that I gave earlier, you just start on a Thursday at lunch, and you say, okay, everybody is now allowed to work on whatever he or she wants. No restriction, no normal work. Everybody is allowed to do that. That is the day itself. This is 1 day, 24 hours. The day ends with a demo. So that is, as Dan Pink told you, a fun interactive session, beer and cake. It's about people who worked all day to do something valuable for the company. So that is the demo. It's like 1 or 2 hours. And it's really important that you make sure that the important people of the company are also there at the demo. the CEO needs to be there because it's about all the people who delivered something that they found valuable for his or her company. What I did in organizing one is that I had a session up front, like 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks up front. You have a session where everybody can pitch their ideas. And the session is meant to get the juices flowing and to get everybody collaborating on, oh, what are you going to do? Can I help you? And have the real recruiting process starting at that point. And I call that the pitches. And there's actually also one afterwards, but it's not really an event, but I'll get back to that later. You have a number of roles. So these are the events. You have a number of roles. I see the CXO as a separate role in a FedEx-day. A CXO can work together with somebody else, and he should, in my opinion, if he wants to. But there is a difference between a participant and a CEO, to me. Because that is the person that needs to be impressed, or he's the main client of your FedEx-day. And there is a role of organizer. And the main role of the organizer is to make sure he or she is invisible. It is basically, sometimes it is practically the same as a facilitator. If you're not visible and everything is running smoothly, then you've did a good job. And I want to tell you about the artifacts. So what are the stuff that we deliver? First of all, there are the pitches. And that is what you deliver as an idea, for example, 2 weeks up front in a session. But the pitches don't need to be the projects you will be working on. They're only meant to really get the juices flowing. Then on the start of the day itself, you have the projects. And the projects are the ideas of the people. And this is a really important topic that you need to make very clear. Once a FedEx day starts, it starts. And once you commit to doing a FedEx day and work on a project, you show the results afterwards. Even if you failed or end up doing something else. So that is the only restriction that we apply in our FedEx day. If you participate, you show the results on the second day. So that is actually...
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. And do you find that people find that sort of putting it off? That people say, oh, I don't want to go in that challenge?
Could be.
Too challenging?
If so, people won't tell me. so I wouldn't know.
Okay.
But it could hold people off. Well, what I want to do with that golden rule is that I want to say, okay, it's not like we have some spare time and we have some education days that you may work on if there's nothing else important. So I have found that this also works as an enforcer for the people themselves. They can say to somebody else who is trying to interrupt them, no, I need to show this tomorrow to the CEO.
Makes it more important.
Yeah. To me, it's always, if you make boundaries, don't use a lot of boundaries, only put a few in, but make them extremely clear. Now, when you project this into a timeline, you have the pitching session. This is a week, this is a week. And somewhere over here or here you have your FedEx day.
It's typically something you organize for the whole company. So it's not that you say, well, this is this voluntary day, can you volunteer? It's like we do this company, it's a kind of an event for socialize, to work together, cross-departmental, etc. So it's not a matter of voluntary, it's just you organize the company and you do it together in a way. It's like when you do go on At the yearly company dinner, we also expect everybody to join. It's not obliged, but it's something we organize company-wide.
Yeah. And I just wrote another event. You need to do an announcement. You need to make sure that people know what's going on, what is happening, what is the meaning of this. Because if you begin with the pitching session, people will be sitting there and they will hear about FedEx-day the first time and they will not have the brilliant ideas already prepared. So you need that one as well. And I must say that if you use these sessions and you organize around it, you will get it done every time. You don't need to be an experienced organizer to do so. Are there questions about the how of a FedEx-day?
You say it ends with the demos. Are those demos included in the 24 hours or is that on the Friday afternoon?
That's on the Friday afternoon.
Okay, so on Friday
Yeah.
afternoon.
And usually our experience is we do it from Thursday to Friday because people are exhausted afterwards. So after the demo we drink something and then everybody heads home at around 3 or 4.
Yeah, but actually you see people spend the night at the company. So that's not obliged, so it's a 24-hour time box. But when you get, I always say if you give people the possibility, they will surprise you. And that's also typically with the FedEx-day. You just organize it, you leave it free, and they will surprise you. And I think Rob has also some good examples, but you often see, not everybody, we see people that are really committed to something which they think is really challenging. They want to sleep overnight, they want to work through, and then maybe they bring their sleeping bags and stuff like that. So indeed, after the demo, most of the people say, well, this was fun, this was nice, but it's good to go off and have a weekend.
Yeah. And actually the very first FedEx-day we did with the development team only. And it was from Monday to Tuesday. And then Wednesday morning, everybody came in late and was tired. And so the management said, well, we do think it's important, so we do want you to spend company time on this. We would like to, but please make it end on Friday.
I just hear the pitfall.
Yeah, that is one of the pitfalls.
Don't start on Monday.
Don't start on Monday, actually. Yeah. Is this enough about the practicalities of a FedEx-day?
Question about. Okay, sorry, I missed the first 2 minutes. But is that like one big demo that you give, or many small ones?
Actually, it's many small ones. Yeah, but that's also how we do all the sessions. So in the pitches, we say, okay, everybody has 3 minutes to pitch his or her project. And then after 3 minutes, a big bell rings, and if the person doesn't leave, we guide him off stage. That is what we do with the pitches, but that is also what we do with the demo. You have 10 minutes, and people tend to be very short when they know there's a time constraint.
So the demos are the most tiring for the CEO because he has to attend all demos in sequence.
Yeah, and for the participants themselves.
Everybody's there. So
Everybody's
it's not demo
there.
to the CEO, but it's just like, if you say, well, just spend 24 hours, it's easy to spend 24 hours.
They're used to sitting in meetings, so.
But if you have,
They're
if you
paid
have
for
to
it.
focus on presenting working results or demonstrable results, you see people really have an eye on the ball. And that's also, we all have experience with one of the major changes of introducing agility. You got to focus on the end result instead of focus on the process. And that's also something you establish in just 24 hours. Have a focus on the end result and start working backwards.
Yeah. And the beauty I experienced is that when we did a FedEx-day, we did it with a company that was only 3 months on the way in their new Scrum deployment. And the people that eventually won the first FedEx-day were having time boxes of 1 hour in which they collaborated on flip charts, set out the path, and each hour they came back. And there was really an agile vibe in the room, so I like that as well. So.
You said the people who won, does it mean it is a competition?
Yes, but not a very fierce one, no. It's for the fun of it. So if you do this at a company where there's a lot of a lot of anger and a lot of what's the English word?
Negative energy.
Negative energy. then then it may be not as good as an idea to make it about a price. But if the energy is good, yeah, we give a price. And actually,
A price like this,
Yeah.
so it's not, it's just the award with honor in a way. So,
yeah,
but I must say, I always had discussions with this with Rob. I said, because if you have 100 people participate and only 5 win a prize, then 95 don't get a prize. So if you don't take the prize too seriously, of course it's fun to celebrate it in a way. But let's say it should not be about winning. It should be about collaborating and doing something you really want to do.
How do you deal with the projects that fail? Because not every project will be successful.
That depends on the definition of failure. When does a project fail?
Well, maybe the person itself didn't achieve their goal.
Yeah, well, you can adapt your goal, and so that's one of the things is that that's inside of the format, you demonstrate the end what you've produced. So you will see people start working backwards because I have to demo instead. So you don't end up doing 24 hours of really good work and then fail in the last minute to have something demonstrable. So that's also one of the things that you teach in that way. That let's say the end result is what you start with. Have you experienced with that project completely failed, Rob?
no, not completely failed. I did experience some developers showing source code to the CEO. But they were enthusiastic about it and they were like, yeah, I know we're showing source code to the CEO, but I think this improvement is that good, I want to spend 24 hours on it. So then the CEO was like, yeah, I understand, I guess. I think you did great work. But the rest of the developers were wildly enthusiastic about it. So.
You could see their proudness, so
Yeah.
that's also good. You can
Yeah.
demonstrate proudness as well.
Yeah. And,
but we also had projects that didn't deliver any workable software, but the end result was a presentable prototype on paper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it doesn't have
That's
to be
the
working
definition of
software.
what is-
Maybe that's a good addition. It doesn't have to be working software. Some people want to write a paper or want to say, well, together we need to write 3 blog posts or something.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just really it's undiluted work. So you can really do whatever you want. You think is valuable for the company. Like it's in the movie that the management says, well, you probably want to do something good. Let me just get out of the way.
I'm hearing lots of stories about enthusiastic people getting on board. Have you had any situations where people are just not interested and you have to try and motivate them? And if so, what did you do to do that?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about it. If they, yes, short answer, yes, I have experienced that. But when I thought more about it, is they do want to participate, but they don't want to. They want to add value instead of demo to the CEO. So I had one guy, and he said, "No, I don't want to participate." And I was like, "Okay. What element in not participating do you feel most uncomfortable with?" And he said, "I don't want to demo." I said, "Okay, but what are you going to do during the day? What are your thoughts?" He said, "Well, I'm going to fix some bugs. I'm going to make sure the architecture is up to date." And I was like, that's actually, he is participating, but he doesn't want to get on the spot. So I just asked him, what do you want to do? What are your thoughts? And people can take a day off. It's not obliged to participate. Or they can work on whatever they want. So I did not have really any people who say, no, I don't want to participate, this sucks, I will call in sick or something like that. No. No.
Imagine yourself, what would happen if you have the ability to work on something that you're passionate about, work with the colleagues that you're most of the time not working with. Imagine what you would do, and it's for 24 hours. I think most people here think it's something worth trying, and it would probably be fun.
That's where the flexibility comes in of being able to work on whatever you like. Because I've certainly been in teams in the past where this would not have been popular because they were just so busy that they would have seen this as a game and they would just have to catch up next week. But if they're actually allowed to concentrate on what they're doing anyway, then I could see that would mitigate some of the risk.
Yeah, definitely. So let's... Oh, another question.
If it's been such a successful concept in many locations, why is there not something yet like a FedEx week or a continuous way of working this way?
Actually, there is. There are startup weekends, for example, which are the same concept or the same vibe that's been triggered. And frankly, a lot of people don't know about it.
But you mentioned weekends, but I typically would turn it into weeks because if it becomes a general way of working, you will not be working in the weekend.
I believe there is something like it. We call it Scrum. But that depends on your experiences with Scrum.
Yeah, well, okay. But I think there's still a bit of difference in having full autonomy or being guided.
It is true. It is true. But people, I see a lot of resemblance with Scrum, for example. Only this time, everybody chooses their own dot on the horizon they want to work on. And with Scrum, you can only influence, but you can't decide.
I see the FedEx-day really as a tool in an agile deployment. And of course you can do it continuously in a company, but the first time you organize it, I see it as a tool. Because you show management that sometimes is a little bit hesitating, that their people are really motivated at producing working software or working results in 24 hours. You really show that it's feasible. So that there's often, how can we have a result in 2 weeks? And then we say, well, we show you results in 1 day. It's very good that, let's say, people start to collaborate in cross-company. So so I see it really as a tool to make sure that people understand that Agile is not just a paint on the door and you were a project manager, a little bit of paint, now you're a Scrum Master. So it's really a complete mind shift. It's a completely different way of working. Having your eye on the results, time boxing everything. And to learn that and to start to understand that, FedEx-day is a really useful tool because it gets all these elements in one 24-hour situation, which is easy to sell into a company, and it's also fun. I think that's one of the most important elements in the FedEx-day. It's a fun way to work with your colleagues and produce valuable results.
Yep, and can also be used that way when you are in a company that works. For example, with Scrum, it's not greatly successful, but they are getting into it. Then you can use this as a sort of a weekend out. So when people say we're tired of the sprints and we're focusing and we're working hard, okay, let's do a FedEx day once a quarter, for example. That will get the juices flowing again. So
Rob, what is it? Tackled?
Let's ask the team.
Any more questions on what it is? And how it works? No, let's go to the pitfalls.
Yeah. The pitfalls. The biggest pitfall I have seen is management interfering. And it can be disguised, so you need to watch out for that. I had a CEO come to me and say, well, I really like this idea. And the first, it was really great. But in the second, let's build it on a theme. Let's do it around mobile. I was like, okay, so mobile, is that important to you, or what's behind it? Yeah, mobile is the next step for us, and we really want to get into it. Okay, but what if somebody comes up with an idea that is even better than mobile, but can't do it because the theme is mobile? Okay, I'll think about it.
But it's good in a way. I mean, I think one of the challenges in agile deployments or agile adoption is for the management to learn a new way of steering. And the major challenge is when something is going in a way you would like to have it differently, to take the steering wheel and start steering again. And that's exactly what you shouldn't do. So it's also in here in the example. It's very common that it will happen. So that, let's say, as an agile coach, it's the easy way to start explaining, what will happen if you take control all the time. I mean, there's this wonderful group of lots of brains there, and they probably want to do something valuable. And if you start to controlling, you take the energy out of the room. So I think it's a good symptom to discuss in an agile deployment, and it's something to be alert for, because it'll happen, in any way. If it's in a FedEx-day, or it's in a Scrum deployment, or it's in an XP fashion, doesn't really matter. Management will have the urge to take control again when it doesn't go the way they intend to. And I think this is a good signal to in the FedEx-day to discuss that and to work with them on that.
Yeah, practical example is the manager of sales. So Paul, please do this. You know him.
In marketing, that's fine.
The manager of sales came to me, and at that time I was the team lead, and he said, "Well, I've done the pitch, Rob, and you were there, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I was there. It was a good pitch. Yeah, okay, but I need developers, and they don't sign up for my project." And I was like, "Okay, so what's your job description?" "Yeah, I'm a sales manager." I was like, "Yeah, sell it to them. Don't ask me. I'm not interfering in any way at all." But then he went to talk to the developers, and he used his sales charm to eventually pull one off. But
they didn't pull him into their project.
No, that would be better. Yeah.
Then they would be in sales.
Then we wouldn't have anybody actually developing something. Yeah.
And what pitfalls, Rob?
Yeah, one more. The right mix of self-organization. In the second FedEx-day, I made the mistake that the approach I was using with the development team, first one was with only development team, second one was with the entire company, 30, 35 people. And at the second FedEx-day, I was assuming that they didn't need any more boundaries. So they came to me at around 5 o'clock and they asked, what about dinner, Mr. Organizer? I was like, "I don't care, you're a self-organizing team, fix it." And they didn't like it all that much. So it depends on the crowd how much enforcement of the boundaries you need to employ, actually. So in the third FedEx-day, we organized the dinner. I and a colleague of mine had a luidspreker, microphone, big microphone, and a megaphone, and we shouted when it's about time to get dinner, when it starts, when it's end. So we made the boundaries more explicit. So that is another example I can give, a pitfall.
How scalable is a FedEx-day? FedEx-day, the maximum number of participants.
Yeah, the FedEx-day was first employed at Atlassian. They made Jira. They're a big software company in Australia. And they do it with their entire company, and they spread it out. I believe 2,000 people. Yeah. And they also have the stuff with the prize going on, and be really strict about it. And the developers are teasing each other with the prize and stuff. So yeah.
I think the more you start organizing it and the way you're trying to structure it, the more difficult to do it with big groups. But the more you're able to let it go and have a focus on the end result, they will organize it. I mean, I think there's no limit in the number of people. Maybe it's the number of people that fit into one building or something, but they probably work there, so they fit into the building anyway. But I mean, it's a goal, it's a time box, it's a measurable result. So that's it. So the only thing is you might shorten the demos to 1 minute. But that's also what it's in my experience. If you want to tell something and they give you a day, you can talk about something a day, give them an hour, or even give 30 seconds, and people are able to squeeze the most important thing into the 30 seconds. So if you have a good time box, the most important stuff will be presented.
Have you ever done this at governmental departments or governmental?
No.
Would it be safe to
Why do you ask that?
Because I work for a government, and I would love to do something like this, but I'm a bit hesitant because I know the culture. Meaning to say that these people would like to have a lot of boundaries, and I'm just hesitant because I'm not sure if the creative flows will come.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking.
I've worked in the government, and I've been, let's say, always surprised. There's some prejudice against government organizations, but I have met the most innovative, most agilist, most passionate people in government organizations, but I also have met the opposite. So I think on the other hand, most governmental organizations are really used to heidagen, So breakouts. So if I go to a commercial company, say we have to go to with the whole department and sit outside in a hotel for 3 days. And people say 3 days, you know, how much does it cost, etc. Governmental organizations are much more prepared for personal development, these kind of activities. So in that way, it might be easier to sell it. However, you know, you still, and I think it's good to do something company-wide or institute-wide. So I would say start at the main director of the domain or the context you're focusing on, and organize it, put it in the calendars. Maybe you cannot organize it this week if you do it in a governmental organization. Maybe you have to wait for 2 months, but there's always a way to get it going. And any person, whether they're in the government or in industry, you know, they wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning. You know, they're spending half their life in this company. So there is passion. You know, they don't get out of their bed because they don't want to. So there's always the energy is there. So if you do something like it, you'll be surprised. That's.
I can imagine that the pitches part becoming more important here. So you give people enough time to start thinking about the concept and getting on board, and wow, there's a cool project that I want to contribute to.
Yeah. The pitches also help in getting the discussions going, getting it started. Because after the pitches, I didn't have to do anything as an organizer. They just found themselves, and there was one guy who was our user experience specialist, and everybody was pulling on him. So that all happens behind the scenes when you done the pitches. Yeah.
But it's also a good example in a way. You always have this discussion, you know, we have only one UX designer and we have 3 teams, and how do we put them in one team, and how do we do it with the work? You have all this discussion always going on. They ask us as coaches, but you see in the FedEx-day, they organize it. You know, just they have a problem, they need somebody, they'll fix it, you know, on the way with each other. And that's also something you can point at when they start asking nasty questions, you know, who do we put in the team, and when they say, let the guys figure it out. You know, they're smart guys, smart people, they can organize themselves.
Yeah, but then it's just like the same as gymnastics in school. Everybody wants to have the popular guy in his team.
Exactly. And they'll manage. Maybe they even change the rules. You can play with both the teams.
Have you had any experience with, you already told about experience with CXO, people trying to make a team or something to help guide the process? It's something you can manage up front. Have you also had experience with teams giving pitches, and then maybe the CEO is saying, okay, I don't really care for that principle, for that project, I'm not going to spend any money on that, so that's not allowed?
On the pitch level, you mean? They do a pitch and say, no, forbidden.
No way you're going to spend time on that.
Okay. No.
But if it would happen, it would be a brilliant symptom of something I need to deal with. I mean, you know, it brings up something that you need to tackle anyway. Because if that would be happening, I hardly would see it, because probably you wouldn't get permission to do FedEx-day anyway. But if that would happen, I would be happy with it. I mean, that's a good symptom to have a good and great discussion, because apparently it's not yet understood what you're trying to achieve.
And it is something you should take into account when you talk to the CEO before organizing one. So it could be a pitfall.
Yeah.
If you sense that it could be a problem.
I could imagine that I don't have time for this. You know, this is nice, it's very good that everybody works together, and that's good energy. But Friday I have a meeting. Have you experienced something like that, Rob?
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have. And how did you fix it?
Well, in this case, it was the same sales manager, by the way, who thought that his clients on that day were more important than the teams doing all their stuff. So he wasn't there.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
He should have bring his clients.
Well, we now talk to some of our clients, and they are really enthusiastic about the idea, so they want to work with us on a FedEx-day.
Yeah.
If I were a sales manager, I would say, I'm sorry, I cannot come because we have a FedEx-day. Can you come to us, and then you can see how wonderful our people are.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in your people, I just want a damn product.
Okay, well then we set up the meeting next week.
And I want it last week.
Okay, then I come tomorrow for breakfast.
But with the CEO, we plan. So this is not like something we do next week. So we plan way ahead, and we make sure it's important enough for him by telling him what will happen. So now they are always there. Yeah.
Cool.
I think the biggest pitfall is that you don't make the boundaries clear enough. So I've seen a lot of companies with their Google days, education days, but it will only happen if there's not something more important, because the boundaries are not clear. That's my experience with Google days.
That's also, I work with a company that do this every Friday. So every Friday people have the opportunity to do whatever they want. But in fact what you see, that it's a slack day. So they start working on the stuff they didn't finish. So around noon they have finished the week, and then it's 1 o'clock, and then I think that's one of the pitfalls, that you really make sure that it's undiluted time. So you can don't stop the line. Now you're doing something that you didn't have the time for. So you have to pull people, I think, away from the day-to-day practice, because else they will start to do whatever they were doing anyway. And I think that's not the idea of a FedEx-day.
No.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think you're right, but then you have to, stop all emails and then shut the phones off, and because people will be distracted anyway.
People like their work.
Yeah, or they might feel pressure because the next week they have to deliver something, and they're always like, just do this for a few hours.
So could it be another, like you're saying they're doing it every week? For me, a FedEx-day would be something like you do maybe once, twice a year.
Yeah, exactly. So that was maybe what you see with this Google Day. That's what people at Google have 20% of the time undiluted work. So they have and then I see it happening. But like the FedEx-day, which is really an event, which you announce, which you plan for, where you look pictures for, etc. It's such a special event. People will reserve the time in their calendars. That's the idea.
And make the CEO send out the announcement. So if you have an announcement, make the CEO send it out.
Or even in a small company like yourself, if you had 35 people, put them on a soapbox. I mean, just in the lunch area, okay guys, we now have something cool, which we will do on Friday, or Thursday, Friday, then and then.
Yeah. That's a beautiful bridge to the next topic.
Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
The set about, you have these pitches. Is it true that these pitches, there should not be on a backlog? They should be prioritized by some kind of product owner, like a CEO, trying to prioritize.
No, it's really a marketplace.
Yes.
It's really a marketplace. People say, I have this great idea, and they explain to everybody else, please sign up, please come to me, please help me.
So the teams, they own the pitches.
Yeah.
Rather than the product owner.
Yeah, and there's with the pitches there's no strings attached. So only when the FedEx Day starts, you will have projects. So that's the difference between pitches and projects. That is what somebody says he or she will do on that day itself. Yeah. So in between, everything can happen.
How much time is in between?
First time I did it, it was 1 month, but that was too long. So the second time we did 2 weeks, and that was better. Yeah.
Sometimes you'd be surprised, that people standing up and coming up with an idea. You can have a person from the administration that you hardly see come up, and so I have the feeling we are wasting money, and then she comes with a story and says, yeah, you're right, and I think we can fix it by doing this and this and this, and that you'd be totally surprised that you would never expect it to come from, just by giving them the opportunity.
Yeah.
Results?
Results.
More pitfalls, requests, or else I go
One
to
question: how big a pitfall would be planning it from 9 to 5 instead of from lunch to lunch? Does that totally eliminate the result, or?
Why would you want to do that?
I wouldn't want to do that, but I can imagine a lot of people trying to do that.
I could imagine that would be the first thing, maybe in your situation, that say, can we do it from 9 to 5?
So we plan the day.
Well, to give you an idea, the people in our teams that did the pitches, they are really behind their idea. So they want to create something. For them, it's not a matter if it's 9 to 5 or 5 to 9.
Yeah, I
so
think,
it's maybe rather for management.
I understand. That's the effect you want to create. That
exactly.
Basically, forget the borders and.
It's probably one of the boundaries, one of the don't goes. It's from 1 to 1. So you can change anything, but don't change this. maybe if you've done 6 FedEx days and you've experienced everything and you've seen how it works, you might change it, but you probably don't want to change it anymore.
So some CXO is pitching this to you, saying, okay, I want to plan a 24-hour day, lunch to lunch, and let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, okay, I really grasp the concept, but could we please do it on a Friday and then morning to, let's say, late in the afternoon, and do cool lunch and cool dinner and whatever. But I want only the Friday. What would your counter proposal, or how would you tackle that?
I would try to find out what was behind it. So I've no problem with that at all.
Easy planning.
Easy planning. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Then, but then you would do 5 to 5, but you have to demo.
But
I wouldn't start with that.
If the C,
This is the concept.
If the
It's not a day and a
CEO
half then, eh? If you
no,
do it
it's
from
only
9 to
8
5.
hours. And if the CEO would come to me and say that, I would say, well, if we do it overnight, we give people a chance to work on it in their own time and see if they're really enthusiastic about it. That's what my response would be. Yeah.
Shall we share some results?
Yep. This is, there were 3 FedEx days we did. And the first FedEx day was 10 people, only development team. Second FedEx day, 35 people, entire company. Third FedEx day, entire company, 35 people. So this was the first, and I was at that time development manager, and some developers came to me only a week beforehand, and they asked me, hey Rob, can we have this idea and it's pretty big and we don't have enough time, so can we sleep over? And I was like, sure, if you like, you could. And inside I was like, yes, yes, they get it, yes. So this is where 3 developers slept that first FedEx day.
Oh, those are the sleeping bags.
Yeah, it's not really clear, but those are the sleeping bags on the floor. And yeah, it was kind of brutal, actually, now that I look at it like this. Only a small room. But they were up until 2:30 programming, and then they went gaming, and then they slept for a few hours, and then they worked again. So
no police passing by because the alarm went off at night?
No, that is what you do as an organizer, make sure the alarms don't get off. Get off, I mean, yeah. So that's why I want to show this one. And this is the actual demo of the first FedEx day with beer and chips, but you don't see them. And this was the development team that worked on it. So we, here, there's one result here. This guy, Henk, he worked on that project that made the lights flash if his commit was successful. Commit, is that a normal term? Yeah. If his commit was successful, he made it orange if it was pending and red if it was unsuccessful. And then everybody gets up and says, hey, what's the red light? We need to fix it. So that was a continuous integration tool.
It was a team that was in the 3rd sprint or something like that. So they were working on continuous integration anyway. And they said, well, use the opportunity to make a step in there because we don't have normal time in sprint. And
yeah, and he built it in one night. Yeah. And actually the winner is there holding, he's here, holding that cup.
Okay. The trophy.
That is the actual trophy. We'll come back to that in a few seconds. And those were the actual pitches of FedEx Day number 2. So we call it the FedEx lobby wall, where all the pitches are distributed after we did them for the second FedEx Day. So everybody passes by that wall and gets inspired and has the chance to collaborate with the person that is responsible for the pitch. Those are the actual projects of FedEx Day number 2, and there are a lot less because we have powerful, they created powerful teams with each other, and all the pitches that weren't that good after all just dropped.
Is that, I'm not sure, Rob, if people want to do a one-person project, is there a boundary in the concept of FedEx Days?
Nope. You can
So
do that.
If you want to do one-person project, you can do a one-person project.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, we have one person here who did a one-person project. I really like this project. This project was from a colleague there who had a not so challenging task, not so wonderful task. He needed to put all help desk questions and answers from one system to the next, but he couldn't automate it. So it was a manual task of, do you know, Paul? 2000, 2000?
2,200 incidents. Yes.
2,200 incidents that needed to be put in the new system. And no, I thought nobody likes that. They're not going to work on that. But he had 15 people working on it. Because the way he presented it, he showed them what was the desired end result. He kind of gamified it by using a thermometer with the number of issues that were migrated. He had every hour he had beer and cake. He had he was kind of like a DJ. And at that time we had a debate between two politicos here, between Rutte and Wilders. And if somebody yelled, doe eens normaal man, then he would skip a song. And if somebody said, nee, jij moet even normaal doen, then he went back. So it's kind of Dutch, but it was pretty comfortable being there. And we had someone working late, and he also was there at 3 o'clock doing this, but then we had to revert all that because it was too late and he was making all mistakes.
And I think also that people that were on other FedEx projects that were finished and had the working results before the deadline, they started to help out here.
Yeah.
So it was not the most challenging kind of task, but it had a value, it had an end result, you were really helping somebody out, and they really understood we had to do it anyway, so let's do it together.
Yeah. Here's our sales guy with the user experience designer collaborating on FedEx-day number 2. And they created a prototype which finished second, I believe. And this was the organizer of the help desk issues migration. And he made it kind of fun. This is actually at the demo, and he was demoing the results, and he made everybody wear hats and have fun. So it also shows there's a lot of fun involved. Paul, this is time for you to stand up, actually. This is our FedEx-day winner number 2. Can you tell something about your project, Paul?
Yeah, well, first you need to understand I'm a bit of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde person. During the day, I'm the marketing manager for this company. And during the night, I'm a programmer. Logical combination, right? So actually I was pissed off that I couldn't work with the first FedEx-day. So I definitely made sure I had a project for the second FedEx-day. And the nice thing is about FedEx-day is that you can basically do whatever you want in terms of projects. So I wanted to learn, in this case, how to work with augmented reality. And so I came up with a project where I said I want to take all our clients, and whenever they log into our systems, I want to show it on a map. And I want to have my mobile phone and use the layer environment to actually see where they are. And so that was my project. I pitched it, and in the end, everybody else had other projects to do. But I was fine with that. I mean, it took me actually about 20 hours to do the whole thing on Google Maps, Google Earth, and Layer. And in the end, I was the only one staying over, not sleeping, working 24 hours, helping the other guy with the issues into the new system. And well, it was a great experience, and especially was a great experience because normally you have to do your own work and you are doing the day-to-day things. And this was 24 hours where I could show to the rest of the company how good of a programmer I actually am. Yeah, and since this was all nice pictures in the end as the end result, probably that's one of the reasons that I won the...
So now that they know, did you get a better job?
That's one of the pitfalls.
Actually, they want me to start working in the development team. Yeah. Okay. So, but the last FedEx day I didn't win. I learned a lot because I wanted to learn how to program mobile applications. So I took the opportunity to learn in those 24 hours. I could actually demo something that will be used, because that's also something you might want to create stuff that can be used, because that makes it even more valuable and gives you a good feeling. So for the last FedEx day, I've created a mobile application that we are actually going to use in the company. And I'm brimming with ideas, so the next FedEx day, I'm going to win that one again.
Can you already show us a little bit about your idea? Are you willing to reveal?
My next idea?
Yeah.
You do the pitch.
Yeah, we have a lot of, what we do is we create internet-based e-learning environments, and we have a lot of customers that create their e-learning stuff on our systems. But our customers do not know if they are successful or not. So they want to have real numbers, and they want to have nice graphs showing them how well they're doing, how well their employees are doing in the learning environment. Now, basically, it's all in our system. It's a huge amount of data, big data basically. And what I want to do for the next FedEx day is do visualizations of that data. Not only so that one customer can see how well they're doing, but also that other customers can see how well they're doing against the rest. So this will be a visualization project, taking raw data and making nice looking graphs and moving pictures. So that's why I think I'm going to win that cup again.
Thanks.
You actually had to ask Martijn if you could take the cup.
Yeah, I actually had to ask the last winner. It was okay.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Paul, as Paul is a real experienced practitioner now? Maybe?
Oh, yeah, you don't need to take a sleeping bag, because you can work 24 hours if it's really
You are enthusiastic about the pitch, but say, do you decide on the winner based on the success of the project or on the enthusiasm of the people?
Well, it's probably a combination of a lot of factors, because once you've done the demos, then everybody is going to score what they think are the best 3 projects. And we had one project which was basically a new idea of how to create a user interface for our software. But it was just a prototype in PowerPoint, but because it was such a cool idea, and it got a lot of votes that way. It wasn't the winner ultimately.
So you don't have a jury, you have a democratic voting system.
Yeah, the whole company votes.
Anonymous, or how do you, I mean, you have to...
Yeah, as anonymous as possible, because
Yeah.
the second FedEx-day was not really anonymous.
I hear some...
Here,
Could you vote on your own project?
No, you
No.
can't vote.
Okay, so then you had better chances.
Yeah, we told people you're not allowed to vote on your own project, but we didn't really enforce it, because we thought if you are scamming this, then you're pretty pathetic. So
It is
But you
about
want to win, huh? Rob? You
Yeah.
wanna win.
Well, a lot of things hinge on the fact that this is about intrinsic motivation. So a lot of things go well where you wouldn't expect it.
yeah.
Past the last 5 minutes, Rob.
Okay. This was actually our happiness metric after FedEx Day number 2. If you don't know what a happiness metric is, it's about 5 ways of happiness you are with the FedEx Day. This is really sad. That is really happy. And as you can see, overall, people tend to be really happy about it. And the ones that weren't so happy were not happy about the loose boundaries and the self-organization stuff. So we fixed that for FedEx Day number 3. Sorry. And this is FedEx Day number 3. A little bit, kneeling down, sitting with each other. I was a tad uncomfortable when I saw that, but that's just me. I don't like to sit with a lot of people really close to
That's
each other.
why you don't work with us anymore.
It's true, true. So this was the CEO pitching in the right. And this was Dave, and Dave is Scrum Master at PAT, and he is now organizing them, and I was only there to help him along the way, but he did pretty fine, and that's him with the megaphone playing around. So. And this is Martijn, our new winner.
2 minutes on how to sell it.
Do you want to do that? I think you
I
can
think
do it
we've
better
addressed
than...
most of it. Are there other things that you would like to add, Rob? I mean, I would sell it to the CEO. It's fun to work with each other anyway. It's good in an agile transition. You will learn a lot. Please participate, and you have meetings anyway, or yearly meeting. Which you always go karting or bowling or whatever. This is something different. It will help. It has focus.
Yeah. I would let it depend where to focus in the sales pitch. I would let it depend on what is more important for the CEO. Because there are actually two things. That is collaboration inside the company. That is the real value to me. And oh yes, we also have innovations which deliver results which make more money. So depending on what the biggest problem of the CEO is, I would go one of those two paths. Actually.
Don't forget to sell it to the rest of the company either. From the pitches onward, you might want to communicate regularly about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will drop off.
That's also a big improvement for the third FedEx Day. Yeah, we also had Jammer, the internal Twitterish network, where we push the ideas and make everybody aware. Hey, this FedEx Day is coming. Hey, it's coming tomorrow. Hey, it's starting. So, yeah.
What's the link to agility? Any questions about this still? Is it unclear? I think we've talked about this. We've addressed it. It's worth also watching Dan Pink's movie, in which you see that as a whole. But I think the one thing about autonomy, this is a very good example of showing that autonomy really works. Anybody has questions about self-steering teams, does it work? Are my people motivated, etc. All these kind of hesitations, which you see when companies start thinking about agile, you address them all at once in a 24-hour sequence. And as an agile coach later on, you have it much easier, because you can always point back to, but remember the FedEx-day, you see what happened there.
Yep.
It's this main mind shift of finding out reasons why things are not possible, making the shift to, it doesn't matter what you think is ideal, let's see what the time box is and let's make something which is possible. So start off with it's possible and then see what you can do. And that's a FedEx Day in 24 hours, an ideal situation to achieve exactly that.
Yeah.
But going back to the how to sell as well, the general feeling is that the hardest people to sell to are in management. But I see in the company where I work, there's also quite a lot of software engineers that prefer to have just the do as you're told way of working. They don't want to show a lot of initiatives. So they are the people that need to be motivated. How do you get them into that?
I think the pitches are exactly for that. Yeah. You say, well, just don't come in on the Thursday and think, what should I do? Now the idea of the pitches is really to start up front thinking, is there something you are really motivated about? Maybe it's just about doing something completely different. Maybe it's about learning something. There's always something that you want. And if you don't, you just attend the pitches. And there will be ideas presented to you that you think are interesting. And you just don't join. You don't have to prepare a project yourself. You can do that, but you can also just join in.
Yeah. And the starting point would be, if somebody really wouldn't want to participate, I would ask them, are you willing to attend the demo? To see what your colleagues made. And I have yet to meet the person that said no. So even starting low is perfectly fine.
Okay, that was the end of the time. Are there any more questions? Final questions and answers? Okay, 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yes.
I imagine that one of the outputs from the demos would be lessons learned. Do you try and do anything with that, perhaps with a retrospective to feed into maybe coaching in the future?
I do think it's important to consult with the product owner to get the picture, to get the results on the backlog if they still need more work to make it valuable. It hasn't come into retrospectives yet. It doesn't feel right to me.
I have a question for you. Okay. There's this empty box.
Yeah, that is actually...
What's in the empty box?
It's not a real event. That's always the question. It's not a real event, but it needs follow-up, I guess. If you do 5, 6 FedEx days, but the ideas are great, the vibe is fine, and there is potential there, but you aren't getting any follow-up in the ideas, they're not getting into production, then at one time I think people will not like to do another FedEx day because the results are not being used. So that is an empty box actually, to follow it up, what happens. And most of the projects will not receive any follow-up because you've learned and you've failed, or finished, even better, but you need to follow it up.
What happens on Monday? How do people come in after the weekend and say, oh, I did a lot of stuff on Friday and I still want to keep on working? And is it disruptive? Is it constructive?
I was not there, Paul.
That's
a good answer.
Business as usual on Monday. Is it? Yeah, because what we see is that because these projects come from motivation of the people themselves, they keep working on it, but mostly in their own time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Was there anything done in this example because I think there could be two possible results from such a day, which is one, the projects themselves, the results, which might need more work on, but I think as important as it is to learn how the process worked and how people experienced this way of working for 24 hours, focus on results with all the energy, whatever. But if it's then back to business as usual and you know the next FedEx day is not supposed to happen until 6 months later, I think there's at least a risking quite quickly getting the energy levels back or below the original levels.
So not only on results, but also on process follow-up.
Yeah, but therefore,
it's a good idea.
On Monday, or what happens with the retro?
Yeah.
But it's maybe also a process to invite people to be more innovative.
One of the reasons our management said yes to the FedEx days is because we had the idea that we needed to create more innovation in the company. So that was one of the main reasons management wanted to do this.
Yeah.
But that would call for a much more frequent.
Not necessarily. I mean, we're 35 people. We have a lot of work to do on our products and with our customers. So doing this like once every 2 months would be too much.
But I think Rob just said that none of the ideas have yet made it to the product backlog yet, or did I misunderstand?
Yeah, that's something I find that's not nice. I know that the projects I'm working on, that I'm still working on my last project to finish it because it's not really done yet. So, and I know that some of the other guys are also working on their ideas still. And at some point it will become part of our offering.
And for example, the traffic lights, they're in production right now.
Yeah, that was finished basically.
That was finished. So it's also a trigger. If you can finish it in one day, even if it's this piece of functionality, if it is the piece of functionality that our customers are waiting for, we can get into production right
That's
now.
why you want to do it 24 hours and not 8 hours, because that's not enough.
Yeah.
But maybe you're indeed, one of the pitfalls, I wouldn't say it's a pitfall, but if you really create it to be a separate event, and that's the way we've presented it, it's the way we use it, then it stays a separate event. So on Monday morning, the event is over. I mean, but it's, let's say that I would say it's more of a challenge to learn how things can go differently, short cyclic, working results, etc. But in the end, you would like to come to a situation where every day is a FedEx day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if you use it as a tool for agile awareness, agile introduction, you might expect people to start behaving differently. Saying, oh, I have this newfound sort of autonomy, sort of constructive energy that I want to keep on using during normal work as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the idea. That's what you see, of course, but it's not like this magic stick. So let's make the company agile. Let's do one FedEx day, and after that, everybody's happy and they will live on forever, ever.
But in that context, I like your idea of following up in a retrospective.
Well, it seems like a way to introduce something, but I don't know. I mean, how long have you been doing them? I don't imagine this working for 5 years. I think it'd probably grow into something more like a 2080 rule, where people, once they become used to being autonomous, they then have a more stable system, which isn't so much of an event, more of
but then you have continuous FedEx Day.
Yeah, and I think that
Yeah.
the FedEx-day itself will change. The first time you do it, it will have this focus with projects, etc. But if you like in Atlassian, they've done their 20th, it will be a completely different event. And you have no idea where it will go to. You will find out. I mean, the group makes the FedEx-day. It's not the structure.
And then maybe you end up, if it becomes part of your say daily process, you have a different kind of FedEx-day every half year.
Yeah, you do a non-FedEx day where you just do boring work. You do what the director says, and then he can be in control, and everyone says, "Oh, this is fun. We have a director who really gives us orders and in control." And
This is how it used to be.
the non-FedEx day. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's what it is.
Okay, we're done, I guess.
Yes, coffee.
No.
This video blog is sponsored by Awareness.